Welcome back to Football Daily, where today we are looking at the top 10 transfers that left footballers' careers in ruins. 10. Fernando Torres. First up is perhaps the most obvious name on this list, Fernando Torres. Everyone knows the story. Torres was a monster at Liverpool, a two-footed speedster who scored 81 goals in just 142 games over 3.5 seasons at Anfield. But that's not the whole truth. Torres had a dodgy injury record while at the Reds, missing nearly half of Liverpool's league games over his last 2 seasons at Anfield. Knee surgery in 2010 saw him spend 5 months on the sidelines, so when Chelsea stumped up a whopping £50 million to sign him in January 2011, it was considered a major risk. Torres' strike rates dropped to under 1 goal every 5 games, and a loan spell at Milan ended calamitously too. But the Romantics got their wish in 2014, while El Niño, at the age of 30, returned to Atletico Madrid and the top of the global game. He may not be the explosive goalscorer of old, but once again, Fernando is loved and is wearing red. 9. Radamel Falcao. Atletico striker number 2 is Radamel Falcao, who became the Rocky Blancos record signing when he joined from Porto for €40 million back in 2011. The Colombian had a staggering 72 goals in 87 games in Portugal, and in Spain he barely slowed down, netting 70 in 91 appearances. After triumph in the Copa del Rey in the Europa League, El Tigre was in high demand, and Monaco backed up a truck full of Russian rubles for the forward, shelling out €60 million. In return, they got just 11 league goals before Falcao blew out his ACL. That's nearly €5.5 million per strike. Falcao tried to rehabilitate his reputation, moving to the Premier League and spending time with Man United and Chelsea, but he managed only 5 goals across 2 years in the UK before returning to the Principality. However, this story does have a happy ending, as by March 2017, Falcao had banged 24 goals in 30 games, powering Monaco to the top of Ligue 1 and the last 8 of the Champions League. 8. Juan Sebastian Veron. For all of Sir Alex Ferguson's tactical brilliance, he was prone to the occasional transfer howler, and his big money purchase of Juan Sebastian Veron from Lazio in 2001 was perhaps the biggest failure of his United career. At £28 million, Veron was one of Fergie's 3 most expensive signings, and arrived as one of the world's best midfielders. In the previous 3 seasons, Veron had won 6 trophies, including a League and Cup double, but his elegant passing and eye for goal deserted him in the frantic midfield crush of the Premier League. This prompted criticism from the press and led to a displeased Ferguson to tell journalists, "Veron is a fucking great player and you're all fucking idiots." That didn't stop him selling the Argentinian onto Chelsea though, and Veron continued to struggle at Stamford Bridge. He eventually joined Inter, winning the Scudetto again, and then returned to boyhood club Estudiantes, leading Los Pincheratas to 2 titles and the Copa Libertadores in 2009, when Veron was voted MVP. 7. Ricardo Quaresma. The king of the Trivela, Ricardo Quaresma, alongside Cristiano Ronaldo, was hailed as the great hope of Portuguese football. With both coming through Sporting's famed academy, Quaresma and Ronaldo left the Lions within weeks of each other to join 2 of Europe's best sides, Barcelona and Manchester United, respectively. While Ronaldo saw his career go on a steep upward trajectory, Quaresma saw the opposite. Never establishing himself as a starter under Frank Rijkaard, the Portuguese grew frustrated and moved back to Portugal, this time wearing the blue and white of his former rivals Porto. It seemed to get him back on track, as he became a key part of the Dragons' hat-trick of title wins. But being back in the spotlight, it wasn't long before he had a line of suitors prepared to gamble on him, and Jose Mourinho's Inter got their man for around 17 million. The special one was aware of the immaturity in Quaresma's play, stating that in a few months everyone would see a different Quaresma. Needless to say though, it was no different to his spell in Catalonia, perhaps even worse, as he was voted Serie A's most disappointing player. Quaresma eventually became a journeyman, but he did redeem himself at Euro 2016, becoming one of Portugal's better performers and helping them win their first ever international tournament. 6. Mario Götze. Prior to his move to Bayern Munich in 2013, Mario Götze was perhaps the most coveted talent in world football. The German was actually born in Bavaria, but joined Dortmund's academy aged 9, going on to win 2 titles at the Westfalenstadion, scoring 31 goals and assisting 44 in 116 games. But as we know, all autobahns lead to Munich, and Götze joined Bayern at the same time as Pep Guardiola. Though his numbers remained impressive, contributing to 60 goals in 114 matches, Götze never found a place in Guardiola's Rubik's Cube formations, playing out wide in midfield and even as a false 9. After just 14 league appearances in 2015-16, Dortmund offered Götze a way out. But though he was just 24, the attacker seemed irreparably broken. 800 league minutes back in the yellow shirt, and he was diagnosed with a metabolic disorder, ruling him out for the remainder of the season. It seems that Mario may never be super again. 5. Royston Drenthe. It's hard to tell whether his transfer to Real Madrid ruined Royston Drenthe, or whether it just revealed how shit a player he had been all along. The Dutch winger didn't score a single goal in his 37 games at Feyenoord, but his part in the Netherlands' triumph at the 2007 Under-21 Euros enticed Real into a €14 million bid. And a 40-yard screamer on his debut against Sevilla was not a sign of things to come. Drenthe featured at left back and left wing for Los Blancos, but the arrival of a young Brazilian called Marcelo soon saw him relegated to the bench, and he ended up spending time at Everton, then in Russia, Turkey and the United Arab Emirates. By 2016, Drenthe's options had run out, and he pronounced himself retired at the ripe old age of 29. Apparently though, football's loss is music's gain, with the Rotterdam native claiming that he will spend time focusing on a rap career under the name Roya Two Faces. 4. Nick Powell. It does seem strange to label a career ruined when the player in question is still just 22 and playing in the Championship, but English midfielder Nick Powell was said to have unlimited potential when he joined Man United from Crewe Alexandra in 2012. Powell had won all 5 prizes at Crewe's end-of-season awards, including Young Player of the Year and Player of the Year, and at barely 18 years of age, he arrived with an incredible 1 in 4 scoring record. Alex Ferguson called him the heir to Scholes. Expectations rose even further when Powell scored on his Red Devils debut, but he went on to play just 9 times for United, clocking up a grand total of 358 minutes in the red shirt. After rediscovering some form on loan at Wigan, Powell was arrested for drink driving, meaning that when he returned to United in the summer, he couldn't get a visa to enter the USA and missed the club's pre-season tour. In the end, he was cut loose in 2016 and went back to Wigan. 3. Andriy Shevchenko. An explosive striker, Andriy Shevchenko won the attention of the continent back in 1997 and kept it for nearly 10 years at the top. Just 20 years old, Shaver already had 3 league titles to his name when Dynamo Kiev visited the Nou Camp in the Champions League, but his brilliant hat-trick in a 4-0 victory over Barcelona announced a new and exciting talent to the world. In time-honoured fashion, Shevchenko followed the route from Eastern Europe to Serie A, signing with AC Milan and scoring 175 goals in 322 games. In the process, he won a Scudetto and the Champions League, and when Chelsea offered a British record £30 million for the forward in 2006, the Rossonero became a blue. Shevchenko was joining a side which had won 2 consecutive league titles, but his form went into freefall, dropping from 0.52 goals per game to 0.29, about the same as Demba Ba managed at the Bridge. He lasted just 2 seasons before retracing his footsteps to Milan and then Dynamo, and he now manages Ukraine. 2. Alexander Hleb. With the exception of Thierry Henry, things don't usually go to plan when a player transfers from Arsenal to Barcelona, but the pick of the bunch must surely be Alexander Hleb. Hleb arrived at Arsenal in 2005 and became a key member of Arsene Wenger's team. Alongside Cesc Fabregas and Mathieu Flamini, he thrived in a ridiculously creative midfield and quickly became one of the Premier League's most admired talents, while also reaching the Champions League final with the Gunners. But as Arsenal sold their prized possessions to pay off their Emirates Stadium bills, Hleb transferred to Barcelona in the summer of 2008. The Belarusian midfielder was one of Pep Guardiola's first signings at the Nou Camp, along with Gerard Piqué and Dani Alves, but had nowhere near the success of those two. In fact, he had a downright awful time, making just 19 appearances for the Catalan Giants. Although he did appear during their historic treble-winning season, he was quickly loaned out to Stuttgart and spent other unsuccessful loan spells at Wolfsburg and, wait for it, Birmingham City. He has since plied his trade in Russia, Belarus and Turkey, and never again hit the heights of his performances at Arsenal. 1. Jackson Martinez. Our third Atletico Madrid centre-forward, Jackson Martinez, broke from the Torres Falcao formula by failing miserably in the Spanish capital, having arrived with huge fanfare from Porto, where he had bagged 94 goals in 3 seasons. Despite supposedly attracting interest from Arsenal and Chelsea, Martinez was 28 by the time he got his big move, and it turned out to be too big. Martinez had been a hero and a league winner in Porto, but despite getting service from Griezmann and Koke, he scored just 3 times in 22 games for Atletico. Whereas Martinez had previously made his name from using his pace and running in behind the defence, at Atleti he was expected to hold the ball up and use strength and movement to create chances. Basically, he was expected to be Diego Costa. Atleti had spent 31 million on the Colombian and were desperate for a trapdoor to drop him through when China's Guangzhou Evergrande offered them a crazy 36 million. Simeone ditched the dud and he's gone on to great success in China. Only joking, we have no idea what he's done in China and we don't care.
So we hope you enjoyed that, and if you want to check out more of our videos, then click here on screen. Don't forget to like and subscribe and get on our Snapchat and our Twitter.